Is do not. That,
That means you have to see if it's on.
I can read now. That's good. Right, welcome everybody. First of all, apologies. We have David Mead and Fran Victory with apologies. Item 2, any declarations of disclosable pecuniary or other interests? None whatsoever. Okay, thank you. And can we have the confirmation of the minutes of the last meeting? Is anybody, we're all happy with those?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, there we go. Chair's announcements, there are none. Public participation, none.
Going for another record system.
We were talking about that earlier. So, right. We've got a target. So revenue and capital monitoring. First item 6 on the agenda. So this is about the revenue capital monitoring 2025 at this period. So reports covering the expenditure of 25-26 against the revenue and capital budgets. And the report is for noting, so the recommendation is for noting. On the revenue side, the projections, we know, are based on the actual expenditure plus the known commitments. And if you look at the table, it summarises the revenue spending for each service against the approved budget. Appendix A is a bit of an expansion on that if you want to cover the bit more detail. And the current projections are that we're predicting an underspend of 470,000. So again, this is primarily due to investment interest having performed exceptionally well. So we've had this has been something year on year that we've had, and it's held up, although there is a bit of a downward pressure on interest rates. So I think the numbers are going to slide down by the feel of it in the coming period. The cash management position snapshot can be seen in the table, and this will fluctuate naturally throughout the year, but we're projecting an increasingly healthy balance of £45 million at the end of the year. Investment interest you can see in Appendix B, and at the end of the year the projected return is actually 1.73 million, which is in excess of the budgeted figure of 1.2 million. We have £39.35 million in short-term deposit in the money market, and we have long-term investments. The CCLA Property Fund's 9 million, the CCLA Diversified Income Fund is 7 million, and both of these have a capital growth element. The average interest earned is 4.02%, slightly lower than last year. And the capital, on this capital side, you can see that in the table, summarised in the table. It doesn't include any committed expenditure at the moment, but the earmark reserves are in the section, and section 1 and 6 are tabled in Appendix C. So that all looks, we're all pretty healthy in that process, and just thank you to the team for delivering on that throughout the year. So it's another good year coming through. And anybody want to open up and make any comments or observations or questions on that? Peter.
Thank you, Chair. I'll join you in your comments about the effectiveness of our treasury system and the interest that accrues from that. I do have a small concern in the sense that we have, 10 million or thereabouts, 10.4 million of CIL and Section 106 monies, which are mostly long dated. Could we have an assurance as a committee that all parish councils are being kept appraised of the sums that are available to them, so that they don't just wither on the vine, particularly with the danger of moving to the unitaries, and as we've heard today, the mayoral system effectively taking control of what's going on.
Yeah, I think we will keep the parish councils informed. It's part of the discussions already exist on that, so we will carry on with that.
Could I, if you don't mind, Chair, could I just chase you slightly on that? Do we have a formal system of advising them and getting feedback?
No, we don't.
I recommend we have one then, in some form.
Just on section 106, I think we do, but we also have, you'll be aware, we have regular meetings with the town councils in particular, where the town councils also talk to us about, you know, their plans and what they want to do. So I think we do have those regular meetings.
Through you, Chair. We do have a Section 106 monitoring group who look at what monies are collected and where they're being held, and they will proactively contact parish councils if they think, you know, this has been held for a long time and no one's come forward. So they do regularly contact parish councils to let them know what's available for what. And the communities team also, when they're looking at schemes, will say, well, there's this money in this pot that you could use for part of this, you know, so that the officers do regularly keep them updated.
Thank you, that was helpful.
That's satisfactory. Is that basically what you were asking?
I think Misha's answer is perfect, so long as we actually have that cycle on a regular basis rather than ad hoc.
David?
The question that I keep getting asked, and it would be nice to sort of get it out in the public really, is these are vast amounts for some organisations, some parish councils, and you know, for some other things, sort of thing. What happens to the interest on that money? Does that eventually go to the group that are whole, or to spend the money, or does it stay within Malvern Hills coffers?
Andy, you could answer.
It will depend totally what the legal agreement says. So in the vast majority of cases, the legal agreement says that the interest will stay with the district council. That isn't the case on every legal agreement, though.
That's fine.
Okay, thanks, David. Nothing else? Okay, for noting. Move on to the next item, which is revenue and capital budgets 26-27. So this is dealing with the setting of the budgets and the level of council tax, and follows on from our medium-term financial plan, which, if you remember, was for a 3-year period this year. A bit of a change. On the revenue, we aim to have a balanced budget, maintaining general fund balances greater than or equal to £3 million, which mitigates any future funding risk that we might come up against. Savings are, where they are required, will be met through one or more processes. One is better efficiency, second is from investment income, and then there's income from the services as well. Our aim is to keep the council tax as low as possible and to maintain capital reserves and avoid borrowing, and that's the direction that we're heading in. So the assumptions are that there's a 3.2% pay costs increase, and other cost increases for the coming year are 2.5% assumed, and the pension contributions I think are similar to last year. I haven't got a percentage figure for that in the report. Bandy increases in the council tax, and we are aiming for a repeat of last year, where there will be a 0 increase in the council tax for Malvern Hills District Council, and I think that's very, very good news. Appendix A shows the proposed revenue budget overall. And in Appendix B, we show the budget increase of 1.5 million for housing services and food waste collection. In addition, we've got £400,000 is added to the existing 1.6 million priorities budget for new fundings in 26-27. The Appendix C will show no service reductions and income generation identified at 125,000. And the mix of that is 50,000 in leisure, 40,000 from commercial waste, and 35,000 from garden waste. Appendices D and E are spending plans by service area, and our contribution to shared service costs are factored in, agreed by the management board. Financing the business rates, 1.65 million baseline, and the revenue support grant is 3.9 million, and the extended producer responsibility grant is 1.1 million. So the revenue support grant is a bit less from last year. That's all. The fairer funding reviews come through and put different figures on it, and we're getting grant support in order to avoid falling off the cliff edge. Total funding for 26-27 is 6.6 million, and the general fund needs to be robust enough to cover variability and risk, and at the end of the year expect £6.6 million to be available. The council tax base has increased by 2.6% to 34.4 thousand. And we propose no increase in council tax, as I've already said. So we remain one of the lowest for council tax actually in the country. So it's well done to everybody for the management of our resources so that we actually deliver well, and we're actually doing all that. The precepting authorities are in the process of determining their precept levels, and we'll be awaiting for those before we can finalise through into the putting the numbers and all the collection rates together. Note that through the council tax collection, the Conservative levy is charged on residents from 4 parishes. So that's an extra element beyond the precepts. We await this information so that all the council tax can be set, and we have the 27th, we have the council where we will hopefully have all that, and we'll be voting on it at that point. Appendix F shows the capital programme for financing, and capital spending will be financed by capital receipts, government grants and reserves. There's no need to use external borrowing, and the capital programme is shown in table 12.1. Note that the expenditure is greatest over the next year, and it actually drops off, so the different elements through that you can see that the figures reduce. And the earmarked reserve position is shown in Appendix G. At the end of that, our 3-year period, the replacement fund will have reduced to 35,000. And it remains important that we add to the capital replacement fund each year. So there's £400,000 in years 2 and 3 and 900 in the coming year will be put aside for that. This is basically just to deal with the risk element of things not turning out in the future the way that you might expect at the moment. So it's a sort of risk management process. Cash management, we forecast to have £45 million, and that covers the budget setting. Can I open that up to any questions, comments? Beverly?
Thank you. Yes, thanks so much for that. And just to echo the congratulations on the good management of the finances, and especially the lack of increase in the council tax. And I just wanted to ask, in my experience, residents are remarkably unaware of which elements of their council tax are raised or stay, as they were. And I just wondered if we had noted which of the other organisations in our area were actually increasing their element of council tax, and by how much, because I'm conscious the town council's increasing, obviously the Conservators, the Trust and the county. So I just thought it might be useful to have a table of, you know, where we sit relative to everybody else. Thank you.
Yeah, as far as I remember, for each year we have that list that comes out as to how the council tax broken down, and each resident gets access to that. I picked up quite a bit of discussion round about our area, about the increase in council tax from the Worcestershire County Council, which is quite significant. And I think people are I think they seem to be fairly aware that they're going to be hit with a high council tax. But I think the ones I've talked to are obviously aware that we've actually done quite well, and we've a well-run council, and we're keeping our levels low. So if anybody else has got any stories any feedback like that, that's what I've sort of picked up. Natalie.
Yeah, just picking up on that point specifically, I wouldn't necessarily agree. I think they think that we're all putting council tax up. So I know that we do differentiate, and I know that we say, you know, the Police and Crime Commissioner is increasing it by this amount and we are doing this and others are doing that. But I still think there is this confusion or misunderstanding in people's minds about who the collection authority is and who is actually who we're collecting money on behalf of. And just to clarify, although we are expecting a proposal of an increase of 8.98% at our council meeting, county council meeting, I know, strange figure, next week, they were allowed to put it up to 9%, but not 9 or above. So, but I don't know why it's not 8.99 and it's 8.98. But anyway, but that's, at this point, it's a proposal. Okay, so we don't know whether that's going to go through or not. I'll not say any more about that at the moment, other than that obviously a lot of people that are making that proposal were elected on the basis that they would be reducing people's taxes, not putting them up. So that's something that we do need to make very clear. I mean, I was going to start off by saying thank you to Andy and the team because of your obviously prudent financial management over the years. We're in a position where we can freeze and in fact probably lower it if we wanted to. But yeah, obviously the reform administration at the county council have inherited a bad hand, as somebody over the pond might say, and are having to deal with that. They could make different decisions, but they've chosen to apply for the increase in the council tax, and that's what they're proposing. So we'll see. With the exceptional financial support, I think I heard over my shoulder at the moment, we haven't had a decision at county about that yet. So as far as I'm aware, anyway, but so still a lot to play for. Obviously our meetings around budget are postponed because we don't know what the county's decision is going to be, but they will compensate the district if there are any costs incurred by us as a district to set our to be late in setting our sending out our information to residents. But I do have a quick question, and I might have missed the boat on this, and I'm sorry if I have, but have we still got an opportunity to try and extend eligibility for council tax relief, say to include people who are living with a terminal illness, for example, or has that ship sailed for this year? Is that something that we might be able to look at? And then I don't know if you want to deal with that first, but I've got a quick question about some additional funding that I think we've got coming in from central government in terms of DFGs and homelessness prevention, perhaps. But I'm not sure if they're factored in. I couldn't see specific mention, but I think maybe I've dreamt it. And yes, I do have those kind of exciting dreams. But I thought I'd heard that we were getting an increase in our central government funding in terms of homelessness prevention and DFGs, disabled facility grants. So, don't know.
I'll pick those up. Council tax support, yeah, I'm afraid the boat sailed. You have to do it 12 months in advance, and I think we've discussed before. So the earliest we could do would be April 27. The new council, in whatever form, will have to come up with its own council tax support scheme in April 28 anyway. So I would strongly suggest leaving it until April 28, because anything we do for what would be a 12-month period would probably be abortive at that point. I think much better to lobby for the new council tax scheme, whether it's for the whole county or for North and South to include something for terminal illness, I think, to be honest, that will find quite easy favour, but better do it for April 28. For homelessness and some of the housing grants, DFG isn't included in here because quite often the DFG figures come out quite late. What we always do in terms of DFG, if there's additional funding, that will just be passported straight through to the DFG budget. So if it's however much more, the budget will go up by that amount. So it's not really an issue that we need to concern ourselves with tonight. Some of the housing increase has been factored into the budget, although a lot of it was smoke and mirrors. So actually they took away a lot of grants. So the headline increase wasn't as big as it was. But I have noticed that actually the amount of homelessness grant has gone up even since then. So that'll be additional funding that Jen and the team can use to pay for additional, I've no doubt, additional pressures within housing anyway. So we've included what we can, but there is more. What is a definite is that that will find its way through for the housing team.
No, thanks. I appreciate that. I wasn't sure about the DFGs, and I know that quite often the timings don't work out very well for us in terms of spends and underspends and overspends with DFGs, but I know there's a lot of pressure still on that as, you know, trying to improve people's homes so they can go home from hospital earlier and all of that. So, but thanks for the clarification, Andy. And who would have thought there's a lot of smoke and mirrors involved? I'm sure there is with most of things with central government at the moment, but thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to come back on the council tax situation, and thank you to Councillor McVeigh for some update on the county and county situation. Interesting to hear. But I agree also with Councillor McVeigh's assessment that most people do not understand what is happening with council tax, and I don't think we can be complacent at all about it, despite the really prudent management, as was mentioned. So I think, you know, I was wondering if we could include, for example, on the front page of our website, something which just sort of sets out, you know, or more than just a bit of PR that's passing and gets a, you know, column inches in one article in the, you know, Gazette and Worcester News. I just thought it needs to be really much, I think, more sort of stronger than that, because people don't really notice this, except they know they're paying more, and they don't really know where. So that I just wondered if you could, if we could make any suggestion or proposal on that front. Thank you.
Yeah, it seems reasonable. I mean, from what Natalie said and what you're saying, your awareness is that people don't really pick it up. So anything we can do, if we can do it on the website, if we can make any other announcement to that effect, that how wonderful we're doing.
I mean, we won't know this until the council formally sets the council tax, and we've got all the council taxes part of that equation, but we would normally publicise what our council tax increase is compared to other precepts. It's an opportunity to publicise that. Of course, it's on the face of the bill as well, the percentage increase for each element, but I know that people don't always read their bills. So we'll work with our comms team, think about how we can, as we would normally, do a bit of publicity around our council tax.
Yeah, can we come up with the press release, basically from your point of view, before it's agreed? Obviously not publish it, but the last thing that we did and what have you, some of them are taking sort of 2, 3, 4 weeks to come through from after an exec meeting. And this is not good.
Okay, I understand the point. I'm not sure. I'd probably talk to you afterwards, David, about where that's happened, where it's been that sort of delay, but clearly we wouldn't want to see that delay in this case. So we'll talk to our comms team.
Bearing in mind, as Vic has said, at the council tax as well, we can't send, all we can send at the minute is we're planning to. We can't comment on other people's council tax increases until they've set them.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to share a bit of a frustration or annoyance really with some of the rhetoric that's coming out of the County Council about the increases that they're proposing and saying it's £4, it's only a cup of coffee. Well, actually, that is a loaf of bread, a bottle of milk, you know, and 4 cans of beans. That's somebody's whole meals basically for a week. And so I think if we're not careful, our story could get overshadowed by the county council putting it up. So we do need to get in quite quickly and say, you know, we are aware of the cost of living pressures that our residents are facing. And because we've managed things very carefully over X amount of years, we are in a position, an enviable position actually, to not have to put those rates up and put further pressures on our residents who are struggling already. So, thanks.
Can I just give everyone a little reminder that whatever executive committee decides today, it's a recommendation to council, so council still need to approve and agree that decision.
Wouldn't that be in the same way that ONS make recommendations? So we're happy to do that, aren't we? I think.
I'm happy to second the proposal.
So all those in favour, could you raise your cards now, please? That's unanimous.
Next item is the quarterly performance report, Q3. So this is the recommendation of the achievements and improvements in performance be noted, as strategic issues in section 4 be considered, and the executive committee thanks the staff for the outcome of their efforts. So first of all, we have the strategic dimension. The SWDPR and examination hearings concluded on 4th September. An additional covering, have I got the right one here? Inspector's second post-hearing letter, 10th of October, with the main modifications have been agreed. And this is ensuring that the SWDPR is legally compliant and sound. Consultation is from January onwards, and it's on track for adoption by March 2026. On unemployment, which is, I think, nationally, it's going up to quite a high level at the moment. Our level is at the lowest in Worcestershire, which it's remained at the low end, and it's quite significantly below the national level. So I think possibly what might happen following on from that is, since there's a national pressure on employment, it might start to feed through next year. But at the moment, those figures are holding up and be consistent for some time. On services, the overall performance is on track. In the red, amber, green, we've got 17 green and 1 amber. And the planning validation has improved from red to amber, and 94% of measures are on track, performance measures are on track. This is exceptionally good news and shows what a good council we have and how well we've actually put things in place. So for all staff that who've contributed to this and allowed us to get a continuous improvement, and with much thanks from the committee. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. The staff sickness, which we had an issue about over the years, that's now improved and is actually green. So that is really welcome news that the long-term sickness issue that was distorting those figures has sort of worked its way through in some way, and we're back into the green. The apparent reduction in garden waste customers appears to be due to a problem with the database, and it's been tidied up, and so that appears to be a reduction. But the reason for that is that database has been sort of reworked and retidied. On the 5-year plan, you can see that in Appendix 2. Everything is on track and good progress is being made. We've got 48 community facilities legacy grant applications supported, and the Levelling Up Theatre project started 26th of January. The work has actually started, and the contractors have been agreed. So at the last meeting that we had on this, we were still discussing the contract statement going to Speller Metcalf, and we're in discussion with them about certain clauses. That's all been agreed, and the work has started. Malvern Town Football Club, car park, and the rugby club changing rooms have been completed. And on the Rural Fund, 15 projects have been approved, 5 currently completed. And the overall budget for that, 250,000 was allocated. So the remaining 10, we expect to complete that by the end of the year, end of March. Annual resident survey. We've got the highest response rate ever on residents coming. There's 1,810 respondents. And in general, the results show satisfaction levels have improved, or basically what they haven't improved, there's no significant change from the from the previous year. Service level satisfaction showed improvements, so that the 7 out of 11 have showed improvements, and the 4 that remain, there's no effective change. They're static in that sense. So thank you to everyone whose efforts contribute to the achievement of these great results, and we will continue to do our best for our community. So just to reiterate again, thank you to all the staff and everybody who's contributed to this. So I'll open it up to debate and comment.
Go on then, just off the top of my head. I mean, considering that LGR is pretty much overtaking everything, I think this is an outstanding set of results. And I think, you know, I have been involved, whether dressed as an elf or doing something else, in a lot of the things that have been happening in terms of arts and culture and the Christmas events and things in the last 12 months. And I think that there's a real vibrancy about, particularly Malvern, because this is where I spend a lot of time. And I think our offer to residents is a good one. We have got a few empty shops, and unfortunately one of the cafes has recently had to close, but hopefully that'll be filled again soon. But I think the results of the survey as well show that residents think that we understand them and are doing our best in this current climate, because it's a bit, you know, there's a bit of turmoil around, isn't there? We're doing our best to support them and come into our towns, Upton, Tenbury, Malvern, an interesting thing to do, and that they have fun here. Certainly if my road's anything to go by today, I don't know what's going on in town in terms of the theatre, and I know it's half term, but there's parking everywhere. So I think the town should have quite high footfall today by the looks of what's going on with cars parked everywhere. But no, well done everybody, just echo everybody's thoughts, and it's really good to see as well that we've only got 1 amber now and no reds in terms of performance, so really good effort. Thank you.
Jump in front of Dean, who I know is keen to speak, but I did just want to note the, you know, exceptional performance in terms of unemployment, the claimant count, which at 2.2% is very good compared to the news we've had nationally at 5.2% today. And actually, even though the young people under 24 claimant count was really poor at 16% nationally, it's actually much lower for us in Worcestershire and Malvern Hills. So again, we're doing better there. That's not to say we can be complacent with young people. We must obviously really work hard, but I think it's notable that we are doing so well on in terms of employment and the entrepreneurship that I think, again, Councillor McVeigh has noted in terms of our independent shops, our high streets, the general health of our economy is notable, and you know, long may it continue. And I think the work of, dare I say, EconDev in their support of our economy is also impressive, actually, as with so many of our other teams in terms of what they're doing here at Malvern Hills. So I do think it's worth noting that, and you know, I feel it's a real credit and tribute to the council.
We often express our appreciation in this forum and at council. I wonder how far it trickles down. Do the people at the bottom end of the council really know that we value their service so much. I know I do, and I imagine lots of other councillors do when you get some good service, which is almost every time I deal with individuals in this council. I quite often send back my thanks to them. But I do think it'd be a good job if we could generally make everybody from bottom up know how much that we actually do appreciate it. It might be better if that came from council, but we made a definite effort that they should know that.
So we have periodical staff briefings in this very chamber where we do play back some performance results to staff and we thank them. And sometimes, not all the time, I'll say that's members as well, but certainly is a thank you and well done. And they do need to recognise that we are a good council. And out of interest, we have the LGA's national survey results came out recently, and we shared with staff how our results in terms of resident satisfaction compared nationally, and at every indicator we were significantly above the national average. So we played that back to staff because they were quite interested. It was quite current, as the LGA had only just published their results.
Thank you.
Yeah, just quickly, what Beverly said is exactly right, especially around the NEAT prevention work that we're doing. So I sit on the NEAT prevention strategy group at County, and Judy Gibbs often highlights the partnership with Malvern Hills in supporting young people into getting education as one of the best in the county. I think certainly in the top 3 anyway, if not the top 2. So that's a really, really positive partnership. And also in terms of our care experience, young people and care leavers, I would like to say a big thank you to the team that, you know, have offered free leisure opportunities for those young people as well. So we're doing a lot actually in Malvern Hills in partnership with County and on our own to make sure that residents of you know, all backgrounds and in all areas are benefiting. So just wanted to add that in just agreement with what Beverly said.
Yeah, 2 points. Unusual for me to have 2 as well. First of all, I was disappointed to see all the negative comments in the Worcester News regarding Priory Park being closed for 2 to 3 years and no events going to be taking place on there. I can understand it because obviously we, all the contractors, are using it for expanding the theatre. But, you know, what about the stall holders and various people that rely on these sort of functions to make their money and keep the people coming into Malvern? Has any account been taken at all on what effect the closure of Priory Park is going to make on the footfall throughout the town? Then I've got another one in a minute.
Andy can comment on the timescales because I certainly don't think it's 2 or 3 years.
I'm not sure what to say to that, David, to be honest. Obviously the park needs to be shut. That's pretty self-evident if you see the size of the build. I know, speaking to Victoria, she has alternative plans in for things like Malvern Food Festival to actually use the Council House car park instead. I think, to be honest, that's a question that Victoria needs to answer in terms of what's a contingency plan around festivals within the town, because I don't think it's a case of they won't take place. It's more of a case of how do we find alternative venues to ensure that all the good work she's done over the past few years continues.
And just on that, I think a lot of thought has gone into how to minimise the impact of the theatre development on the activities in Priory Park. So thought has been put into that, and I think the alternatives are put in place to shift from the things that would have been in Priory Park to Elmwood. So I'll be looking at things like that. So it's basically was trying to minimise that impact, although the impact is inevitable.
I can just add through you, Chair, from the community's perspective. I think it is about limiting impact, as we've just said, but I guess it's also about creating more opportunities. And one of the discussions that Beverly and I have been having is about the crossover between our portfolio around events and tourism, but also the benefits to bringing community together, health and well-being. And have the paper here, which will be coming hopefully before you in the next coming weeks. And part of those proposals will be about how else can we create opportunities across our district to enable community-led activities and events to take place across the district. And wouldn't it be wonderful? We've got some amazing communities out there, aside from the fact we've got a wonderful town that I'm sure we'd love to encourage people to visit over the coming months this year. So I think just to offer some reassurance, it is about limiting impact, but what else can we do that's opportunistic?
Yeah, thanks. It's really important that you've said that, I think, Jenny, because obviously if we're going to go for Town of Culture, we need to be demonstrating how we are bringing communities together. I think perhaps that the main thrust of the newspaper article, certainly that I read, was from a Malvern Pride perspective, and I do know that they have decided not to have Malvern Pride for 3 years because they weren't able to find a venue that was as central, suitable and welcoming as Priory Park. So perhaps that's where the 3-year element has come in, David. I'm not sure, but I'd certainly read that about Pride, so which is unfortunate because it brings a lot of people into the town. It's a great event.
I thought I might just come back in because we're talking about local traders and the impact of traders in terms of footfall and the sort of semi-closure of Priory Park. I was at a Malvern traders meeting yesterday evening, in fact, and so of this, let's say roughly 20 attending, a couple have had very poor Februaries, but most have actually had reasonably good trade, continued to see good trade. Haven't had any feedback about things, concerns or over concerns about particularly, let's say specifically Priory Park. There's a great deal of excitement about the opportunity for Town of Culture and getting involved in that and the opportunity to pull everybody together. And of course, there's great excitement, I think, on the whole, about the tremendous investment with the theatres, 20 million or so, with the Heritage Lottery Fund and the opportunity for the Phase 2 funding and the Priory. And I think there is a sort of vision to the bigger picture and the coming years and what that means for our town and how we're really making sure that we have sufficient parking capacity. That is something that all the traders will always talk about in terms of lengths of time, short stay, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and day parking. So that is a constant refrain.
Thank you. David, you have got another
I
question?
do. Lost my track. I could have done the two together, but I didn't. I noticed that, a lot of the sort of schools are getting involved with litter picking. And I think it's absolutely first class. Obviously, because, my local school sort of thing has more than all the others put together. No, not quite, but more or less. But we've also got to sort of try and get their parents involved and make sure that their parents are involved long term. Have we got any proposals for sort of doing that? I know the Adopt a Street is going very well, what have you. One of our biggest problems is obviously developments, housing developments and what have you, putting lots and lots of mud on the road, and there's nothing anybody can do about it at present because it's too wet and they can't clean it up and, sort of thing. We are where we are. But I wondered if there was anything in the pipeline to sort of encourage the parents of the children to also do litter picking with their kids or what have you.
I'll start by saying I absolutely love a good litter pick and encourage anyone to do so. And I think actually we've probably got a lot of quietly unsung heroes across the district that are out there doing this day in and day out anyway, as well as you mentioned schools. And I this week signed off some funding for my members' allowance for one of my parish councils to buy some new kit because they're gearing up for some spring events. So I think as members, we all have a role to play to encourage that when we're talking to people in our communities. Again, you do have your members' allowance fund, and there is some proposals coming forward in this same paper that I referenced earlier around how members can get access to some more funding and do more things over the last sort of next couple of years coming forward, and as well as a lot of encouragement around encouraging activities for people in communities that benefit their mental and physical well-being. So I think if the short answer is yes, there are absolutely lots of opportunities. I'm sure there's lots of people wanting to do it, and I know that we do promote our schemes, and our many officers of the council also are working with people to encourage them to do so. So we'll all play our part in that.
Yeah, just picking up on that, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are loads of national things. I think it's called the Great British Spring Clean, isn't it? I think that one of the big national organisations like Keep Britain Tidy or something like that do. So all we need to do really is to have our own press release off the back of a national thing and get people out for a weekend, and then hopefully they'll get the litter picking bug. That's a terrible phrase, but yeah, probably better than some other bugs you could catch. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth promoting. The kids do it really well. I think sometimes we do like a walk-in surgery where we'd litter pick as well and go out and meet residents and get them all involved. We can borrow the kit here. So yeah, let's push it a bit further.
So all those in favour, could you raise your cards now? Thank you, that's unanimous.
Treasury management and investment strategy. I think this is the final item on the day. So we're doing quite well for time, I think.
Slow down.
Okay, we've got three categories of investment: treasury management investment, surplus cash day to day, and then there's service investments and there's commercial investments. Cash surplus we get from council tax and grants, reserves, and other taxes from local authorities and central government. £40 million is the balance, the yield from which is set in the budget. And the cash portfolio is maintained in-house short-term with HSBC, and the CCLA security and liquidity. Security and liquidity is a priority. The expected return at the end of the year is 1.732 million, which relates to a rate of return of 4.03%. And the end of year performance will be actually come out in the final year accounts. Capital reserves as of March, expected for March 26, expected to be 7.5 million. And at the end of the medium-term financial plan, we expect that to be down to 35,000, as we'd said earlier. And we're aiming to deliver all this without borrowing, as we have done in the last 10 years we've been doing it. And given a level of reserves over the next 3 financial years, at least there is no need to borrow. So we don't anticipate any requirement there. Service investments are the shares of the Malvern Hill Science Partnership, Park in partnership with Worcester County Council and the Worcester Chamber of Commerce. We have a 9% voting rights, and on the non-voting side, we have 2 lots of share preferences, P1 and P2, which return dividends of 3 and 6.37%. Commercial investments, these are in Tenbury Business Park, And this year we were at 783,000 from Tenbury. Investment valuation, which has yielded a £52,000 return. On Spring Court, we've got a valuation 847,000, and that yielded 58,000 return on that. And on Spring Lane, a 980,000 evaluation yielding 54,000. So this portfolio has been assessed and underlying assets deemed to provide security of capital. The SIPFA Prudential Code sets limits to ensure investments are affordable, prudent and sustainable. And the limits on external, provide limits on external debt. However, our debt is zero, and we aim to remain so over the next 3 financial years for the end of the current MTFP. So that is the strategy for 26-27, and it's for recommended to Council for approval. Peter.
Thank you, Chair. As always, we've kept the best and most exciting item till last. And I actually mean that quite seriously, because this is our trump card in terms. No, it's a good trump. See, you got to do it. This is our ace in the hole, if you prefer that phrase, Chair. For those members of committee who are looking for some humble bragging at county level, if you work out the investment income versus our households, it's over 14 quid per household. And that's what the council tax bill would otherwise have to go up by. So this is good stuff. And it's been good stuff for many years. And I'm conscious I say pretty much the same thing every year this comes round. But I mean it. It ain't broke. I recommend to committee we don't fix it. And we just let Mr. Baldwin carry on with his team, who are masters in this, or mistresses. And perhaps we could even consider renting Mr. Baldwin or his team out to the county and seeing what they can do at a suitable rate, obviously. I'm sure he'd enjoy it immensely. But anyway, to relieve the pressure on Councillor Owenson, I will also second this, if that's acceptable.
All those in favour, could you raise your cards now, please? That's carried, Chair.